We'll go out for public discussion. Is there someone from the public that would like to speak on this item?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Bob Weeks, 2451 Regency Lakes Court in Wichita, and I'm here today to ask you to not fulfill and to deny this request for special assessment financing for the Lofts at St. Francis Homeowners Association to make repairs to their building. I've spoken to this council in the past about how the facade improvement program in general is bad public policy, and in this case, it's bad public policy compounded by the waiver of principles or guidelines that this very council recently set in place in June, I believe it was. Now, I realize that special assessment financing means that the city is not making a grant or gift of money to the Homeowners Association. Instead, the city is in effect loaning the condominium owners money, which is required to be repaid over time. But I am concerned about the waivers that are being made or proposed to being made so that this project would work. The first one, as Mr. Bell said, is the private investment match, and of course the city is saying that because the owners have made a past investment in this property, there's no need to require a concurrent investment to be made. I would say it hardly needs to be noted that anyone who has purchased property has made a past investment in that property, so I think that's really kind of a non-starter right there. The second is the requirement to undergo a gap analysis to prove the need for public financing, which the city proposes to waive as well. I might say that there seems to be a defect in the manner of ownership in this building. While the Homeowners Association and the individual condominium owners might not have anticipated that repairs would be needed so soon after the building's opening, they must have contemplated that repairs and maintenance to either exterior or interior common areas would be needed at some time. So how does the Homeowners Association plan to pay for those at some time in the future? Mr. Bell also said what will happen if the City Council doesn't approve the special assessment financing, and the agenda report states each individual condo owner would be required to fund a share of the cost. Well, I say, isn't that just what private property owners do? Fund the cost of repairs to the property. Now, according to the Sedgwick County Treasurer's Office, the appraised value of these condos ranges from $103,000 to $310,000 with an average value of almost $202,000. The maximum amount being added to each condo's assessment is about $4,000, although I have learned that the actual amount may be closer to only $3,000. Seems to me that that's along the lines of what it might cost to perform a few repairs and to paint a house that's worth what these condos are worth. So I think it's hard to make the case that these property owners can't afford to make these repairs on their own without a loan from the city. Furthermore, if the goal of the facade improvement program is to provide an incentive for property owners to fix up their buildings, I would submit that such incentive is not necessary in this case. This building is a valuable residential property, $6 million, as Mr. Bell just told us, and the homeowners have a strong incentive to maintain the integrity and the value of their property. So, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, let's ask these homeowners to do just what thousands of homeowners do in Wichita every year. Take responsibility for the maintenance of their own property without looking to City Hall for help. I'd spoken to the Vice Mayor yesterday, and he said he'd have a few questions for me today, but he's not here, so.
Are there any questions from Mr. Weeks? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item?
Thank you for allowing me to speak before the council. My name is David Bryan, and this is my wife, Marty Bryan. We are residents at the Lofts of St. Francis, and I represent the 26 residents and homeowners there at the Lofts. We feel that, at least in some respect, we are one of the goals of downtown redevelopment. We all took that leap of faith and bought the lofts when downtown developed. Marty and I bought the loft in 2006 when it was still under construction. We moved in wondering if we were going to be the only residents in this big vacant building that was under construction with cement dust tracking in and the elevator not in yet. So, but we believed in the concept, and lo and behold, now we have almost full lofts. But some of the residents, as Mr. Bell eloquently put forth, some of the residents, because of the tuck pointing, which, by the way, when I moved in, I didn't know what tuck pointing was. I mean, I had no really idea that this was going to happen, and neither did the other residents. But now some of the residents are taking in a serious amount of water. We believe, and then other residents aren't, but they are neighbors that recognize the dire straits that some of the other residents are in. The problem, of course, with financing, and by the way, we think that we represent a sound investment because we are residents, and this will be an assessment against our property, and we are homeowners, but we also believe that we represent a good investment in downtown redevelopment, that we're part of what you're trying to accomplish. But the problem with financing, of course, as Mr. Bell stated, is that they'll require personal guarantees by 26 residents on the total amount of a loan, so that if anybody wanted to sell property, the total loan would have to be paid off. Some people can afford $4,000, others can't. Some people are in dire straits, others are not, but all are willing to go along with what we believe to be this only solution. So on behalf of these 26 residents at the Lofts of St. Francis who have taken this leap of faith and do need this assistance, we're asking that this be approved. If you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone else that would like to speak on this item? None. We'll close the public discussion and return the discussion back to the bench. Councilmember Gray.
Thank you. I'll be frank, I fail to see how this really qualifies for the program that we have put in place that we just recently modified. The argument that one bank wouldn't give them finance or even two banks wouldn't give them financing is, I don't think, a qualifying threshold to go the public financing route. Anybody that's gone into business for themselves and taken loans out on commercial property or borrowed lines of credit for business operation knows that some banks will say yes and some banks will say no, and oftentimes you have to go to more than one. And it's just part of due diligence. I don't think this meets that threshold. I don't see how this is a unique situation. There's more than one condo building in Old Town and downtown that is in a building that's 70, 80, 90, 100 years old that's going to require maintenance at some point in time. So I don't see how we're not setting a precedent unless those other groups have figured out a way when they organize themselves to plan on future maintenance, whether they be interior or exterior. I mean, these buildings are going to be here for a long time. These people have 15, 20, 30-year mortgages on their condos. How do they not anticipate a future need for maintenance of a building that's already potentially 100 years old? And how was it anticipated that they were going to pay for those? I think a structure, if it is not in place adequately, needs to be put in place for them and every other condominium-owned facility in downtown or any other portion of the city, and not just rely on the easy solution of having us cover it with special assessments. So because of that, I don't see a need to do this. I think it's just taking the easy rate out, and it's pushing this program beyond what it was ever anticipated, and even beyond what I think was anticipated just in the past few years as we've modified it. So it's my opinion.
Any other discussion?